So if y'all didn't know, can everybody hear me okay? That was the beginning song of Enter the Sandman from Metallica. So I thought we were going to have Go Hokies, that's exactly right, because I was almost going to be bouncing up and down on these stairs. It is great to be here in Orlando again with some of the hardest working DOD folks that we have in the United States military. Yeah. I tell you what, fired up. Gentlemen, sir, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the ATA and everything that you brought forward and everything that the ATA team has brought forward. This has been a great symposium. I bet you I've had at least 3 or 4 people a day to come and say, wow, this is our first time here. What event. We're talking about family. We're talking about family reunions. I go back and tell my first time when I went to ATA, I said, this is just like a family reunion. But I would tell you also, this is the premier, in my humble opinion, the Air Force's premier professional development event. So my hat's off to you, and a job exceptionally well done. Folks, we have had some great speakers here. We've had Undersecretary Donovan and General Goldfein and Chief Wright. And we have Mobile Homes just talked to us today, and I will tell you, Mobile Homes, Catfish Wright, and how about Abe Abrams? And I will tell you, those folks, they understand that nobody kicks ass without tanker gas. Nobody. And we deliver hope, and we provide freedom, and we fuel the fight. And we do air medical evacuation, and we also open up those airfields to get the en route system where it needs to be, at the forward edge of the battlefield. And I will tell you, I cannot do my mission. I've told you this time before. Thank you. Total Force Partners, where are you? Please raise your hand. How about a round of applause for those folks, our Guard and Reserve. And then I also want to thank our industry partners. The industry partners that come here, you see them in Expeditionary Hall. I will tell you, I challenge our young airmen, please go out and talk to them. And they open up their ideas. And just last night, I was talking to some folks, and I will tell you that they came up and said, hey, take a look at this stuff. And they drug me over to the board. And it's the things that we're talking about conditions-based maintenance, and we're talking about predictive maintenance, and we're talking about innovation. And our industry partners are listening. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. But then I also want to tell you that I want to thank our coalition partners who have come here today and at this symposium to see what air mobility is all about. What air mobility is all about and what we collectively bring as a team. So thank you for being here. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't take the time to talk about my battle buddy. It's one of the best hires I ever made, and I'll tell you, I want to recognize her right now. Chief Fry, please stand up, and how about a round of applause for Proud to Be. And then last but not least, I think I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our teammates. The teammates who do us strong, the teammates who allow us to do our job each and every day, and that's our spouses. That's our spouses. See, I do that every time. And honey, I love you. She is my foundation, and she is my rock, and she allows me to do this mission without question. But I will tell you, nobody has my 6 more so than that lady right there. You know, this year has been a year of milestones, and it's been marked with several things. And you got to remember that when you raise your hand to join that long blue line, you've joined it on the pillars of individuals in this front row, in these front 3 rows, that set us in motion to move the air mobility enterprise where it needs to be as a global enterprise today. And I'll tell you, you can take pride in that. You can take pride in these superheroes. Who are your superheroes? And what's your legacy? Why don't you take a look? and gentlemen, that's who we are. But what foundations are you laying for the next 30 years? What is going to be your legacy? You know, this year we've had a lot of celebrations. Scott Air Force Base, the home of AMC, celebrated its 100th year. And I will tell you, the United States Air Force, as you heard General Goldfein and Undersecretary talk about, we're celebrating our 70th year. AMC itself, in the mighty TACC, 25 years old. And then you heard General McDougall earlier today talk about Transportation Command celebrating 30 years. Heritage is important, and it's so we can be ever present and every time ready to roll. And that's what ATA is all about. It's a chance for us to sit down and learn. It's a chance for us to talk to one another and tell those stories about where we were and where we're going in the future. It's about the heritage room. It's about the airdrops. It's about talking to industry partners and learning from each other. And this is a chance for us to share our heritage. And I will tell you, this year I took a different approach. You know, a lot of times the wing commanders will bring their most senior leadership in the ATA, and I said, let's try not to do that this year. And Tom and I talked about it, so let's bring our younger kids in. Now, when I was sitting in there, I was your age, it's like the grandpas up here. So now I'm the grandpa, so you're my kids. And I mean that affectionately. So we brought in our CGOs and we brought in our NCOs. So how many of you have been here the first time? Raise your hand. How about a round of applause for you? You're the ones that are superheroes. You're the ones that are going to set the legacy for the next 30 years. And so as we were sitting there and I was working with my team about developing a speech, I looked about how I wanted to do this to our young folks, and I knew they would be a little bit rowdier than others. So we said, hey, we'll put a little bit of jokes in this thing, and we'll go off and we'll have a good time with the speech itself. So for tonight's conversation, I don't want to just have it as a speech. I want to be able to sit down and have it as a conversation between us. More of a fireside chat. I want to first of all tell you where we're heading and what we've been doing. And then I want to take you some vignettes. I want to take you a tour around the globe and show you what you, the superheroes in Mobility Command, have been all about. And how you're enabling us to bring the forces to bear on the enemy that tries to do us harm each and every single day. And then at the end of all this, I want to sit down, I want to talk to you and ask you a question. Is that fair? Giddy up. So, you know, when I first took this seat, I sat down with Tom Sharp, and he was a 5'8" at the time, and I said, Tom, I need a direction where I can focus the command on where to go. I need something to help me out. And so we went out and we started to listen to folks. And I will tell you, if you talk to Michelle, she'll say, hey, you can sit down and listen, but would you please listen, because that's awful hard to do because you run your mouth all the time. And I said, yes, dear, I'll try to do so. So we listened to folks, and I came back and listened to the staff, and what we decided to put together was an acronym, RGMN. Rapid Global Mobility Now. Readiness, growth, development of our airmen, modernization, and our nuclear mission. There's one thing, if you take a look at it, that we added this year, and that's the T. And that T, as you can see, stands for tomorrow. And that tomorrow is you. The superheroes out in this room, that is you, our legacy, our future. It's about innovation. It's about where we want to go in this journey together. So I want to start out, if I may. You'll see this is built on the foundation of our airmen, and I mean airmen with a big A. I'm talking about our civilians, our active duty guard and reserve. That is the foundation of what we do every single day. And the R stands for readiness, and I got it. You're going to sit there, readiness. I've heard it, blah, 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 blah. Be ready, be ready, be ready. I'm telling you, be ready. Peers have been watching us. They know mobility is what is the heartbeat that gets this nation's missions done. And the Chief Goldfein, he said, you need to be ready to fight at any time, so be ready. And then we rolled out Mobility Guardian. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. The G, I should say, is the growth and professional growth of our airmen. And I'll tell you, we took a deliberate step into this with our Phoenix Spark and our Horizon program. We had Stripe, where we teach NCOs to become NCOs. And in the Horizon program, we take our CGOs and we spread them out so they learn various aspects of the mission of what we're doing, whether it's in the en route or it's actually flying different aircraft. And I'm so proud of the Chief because she sat down with our enterprise learning team and developed a new superintendent's course that taught superintendents, our NCOs, the foundation of what we do every day to be NCOs. And I believe in my heart that the Air Force is going to adopt this as the foundation of the superintendent's course across the entire Air Force. We've even done things like made sure there was funding of our CSSs, our commander support staff, so they can get after the wards and decks, and they also can free up the spare time and the free space and the white space so you can get after your mission so you can be ready and growth. And also, you don't have to worry about this thing called DTS. That's a joke, folks. Work with me here. Maybe y'all like DTS, huh? Okay, all right. The M itself, as you can see, the M is about modernization. I will tell you, we've had a pretty successful modernization program because I've got great programmers, such as John Wood. And our budgeteers, making sure that we put the money in the right place at the right time, but we're doing it on a shoestring. We're just getting it done. But we've had successes like the C5M. That conversion is almost done. We had a great success with the C-130, the AMP 1 and 2 program, the AMP, Aircraft Modernization Program, to get it modernized so we can keep that fleet sustained and keep that fleet viable. Block 45 and the KC-135, where we put glass cockpit in the airplane and modernize it and check all the wiring and those types of things. And then we also are increasing the aerospace awareness, so we're putting the stuff, we're putting the stuff inside the aircraft to make it aerospace compliant by 2020. Excuse me for a minute. But I will tell you, one of our big successes that we have right now that I think is coming is the KC-46. And I will tell you, sometimes I feel like Jon Snow. You know, as he's talking to Westeros, and he's saying about the Night King, he says, winter's coming, winter's coming. And then I hear this booming voice out there and goes, you know nothing, Jon Snow. But I'm telling you, KC-46 is coming. KC-46 will be here in the winter or spring, and I will tell you, Altus, McConnell, be prepared. You're going to have a great airplane, and you're going to be doing the tactics, techniques, and procedures. You're going to be developing that thing as far as initial cadre, and you're going to be setting the foundation and the legacy of how we're going to be doing air refueling for the future. That rides on your shoulders, and you ought to take pride in that. And I will tell you also, we're looking at survivability and persistence because that is mobility's lethality. That's where we're going with our modernization program. So I tell you that oftentimes we have to look at ourselves, how do we defend ourselves? I mean, think about it. If mobility forces or tankers got to move away from an area without the enemy even firing a shot, the enemy wins. Pretty cheaply, don't you think? So if they do so, how do we defend ourselves? And a lot of times I tell people, I need a cloaking device. And I kind of get a chuckle. And I say, no, I need a laser. I need a freaking laser. I'm not kidding. I do. I need a laser. But I also want you just for a minute to stop thinking about just aircraft, because I'm not. I'm thinking about other systems, such as the way we can do things with airports. How do we make airports more automated so we can get inside the OODA loop and the speed of war? do it more automation so we can let machines do machines. You've heard me say that before. And let people do what people do and repurpose those people so we can get after the enemy who's trying to get inside our OODA loop. I don't like to lose. So I'm always thinking of ways to win. How about augmented reality for our maintainers? So our maintainers think about this. They put these glasses on, and they're fixing a part, and they go, I don't know the procedure on that, and I need to check it out in the pubs. And he goes, step 1, 2, there it is. Turn that torque wrench and off we go. At the speed of war, getting it out, using tools to help you to modernize. So I'm telling you, I've empowered some of the young folks to be able to do that, and I started a program. We, not me, we in AMC started a program called Phoenix Spark. And Phoenix Spark was going to harness that tomorrow, and it's going to take the initiative of these young kids. And I'll tell you, it was Tech Sergeant Nate Harris, and it was Major Tony Perez. And he said, hey, we got this. And I will tell you, it took off like wildfire using these innovative ideas. And they're connected to, it's like the Matrix. They're connected to this neural net, and they're talking to each other. And say, hey, I got this great idea. And just because it's in Travis doesn't mean it's not spreading around the globe. It's going all the way around the United States. And one of the key successes, Nate came up to me and goes, hey, sir, I'm trying to take off. Sir, you got to come back here to the bunk. Okay, Nate. So I go over to the bunk, and he goes, I need for you to see this blueprint that I designed. You designed it? Okay. With a CAD program he pulled off the internet. And he goes, if you look at this part, I think I can save you about $5 million over the next 5 years. All it was an approach plate holder. I said, go get her done. Matter of fact, I like this thing so good, I'm going to fly with it. Now, Buck's going to kill me for saying this, but I liked it so good, I said, we're going to go do it, and we're going to assume risk. Buck said yes. We'll get the official out. So we're moving on. And then last night, I had 2 kids come up to me, and 2 sergeants come up to me and say, hey, sir, that little bracket on the back of this approach plate holder, I can manufacture that inside right here at McCord. I can manufacture that and make it better. I just need the 3D printing press to be able to do so, or the printer to be able to do so. I said, well, that's pretty cool. I said, how much is it going to charge me? He goes, well, sir, it's about $250,000. I said, $250,000? I said, this little part was going to save me $5 million into my savings. He goes, no, sir, I can manufacture, and he took out a cell phone. He goes, I can manufacture this other part that we got approval to manufacture for 3D printing if I had this new machine, and this will pay for that printer in 2 months or 3 months' time. I said, now you're talking business with me. So I told him, I said, go talk to your wing commander and put it on your unfunded list, and we'll see what we can't do. That's rocking and rolling, folks. That's just the speed of the neural net. That's matrix happening. That's our young kids' minds that are sitting right here getting it done every single day without me even asking. That's just empowerment to get it done. And then I will tell you the N stands for our nuclear no-fail mission. And I will tell you when it's the worst day in American society that could ever happen, if someone's doing something, we've got to be ready. So you heard yesterday that we own 2 of the nuclear leg, or the triad leg, the 2 legs of the nuclear triad. But I will submit to you that we are in all 3. Nuclear command and control and communication. So if you're in T-STARTs, B-STARTs, if that is in your mission, I've asked the inspection team to make sure you are ready. We cannot fail. So be ready to go. So why do I care about RGM and T? And I will tell you because rapid global mobility enables our joint partners. And we do it every single day. Think about it, 600 missions, 24/7, 365, that's what we do. We enable 9 combatant commanders to bring fire effects and warheads on foreheads where it needs to be to folks who are trying to do us harm. That's what you do. And so right now, I'd like to, in the next few minutes, to take you on a trip around the world to show you what you're doing. And our first stops at a power projection platform, and it's in Washington State. And I would tell you that RGM-NT, it was developed and it was born in Building 1600, but it was out on the flight lines. And we developed the first ever mobility guardian. I would tell you, Jeremy Wagner, I put him in charge of it, and he hit a home run. And all the wing commanders, I thank you, because I pulled your woes out for 2 years, and I put their test put them to the test to make sure they could get the job done, to learn new tactics, and procedures. We've gotten real good about how we go for the war for the last 16 years, but what about the next war? Remember, General Goldfein said, be ready to go. Be ready for the next war. And I'll tell you, it was not a rodeo. And I got so much flack for that, say this is not a competition, it's not a rodeo. But I tell you, it was hard. And I thank you, wing commanders, for doing that. And I will tell you, I said, I don't care about failing. I truly don't. And the first night on fight night, I had a co-pilot come back in and goes, man, I had to listen to 6 radios, and I lost my SA. And as we went into the fight, we got shot down and we lost. I just failed my crew. I said, you didn't fail. You learned. You learned. And so the next night they went out, and guess what? Feeling pretty good about himself, come in and say, I got SA on those 6 radios. And we did spin at the right moment. And we knew where that threat was, and we delivered our cargo. And I didn't get shot down. And we could live and tell the fight. And they told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, and that's how the success of this operation went on. 650 sorties that we flew in that mission over a 2-week period. 3,600 packs, 243 AE, medical evacuation, 356 jumpers, 1.3 million pounds of fuel passed. But I will tell you, one of the most impressive statistics that I have in my hip pocket was thanks to our maintenance. They had a 94.4% mission capability rate over that last 2-week period. So a round of applause for those folks. 54 aircraft from 11 nations participated. And oh, by the way, I had an industry day. And industry partners, again, thank you. We asked and you came, and we had great conversations with one another. And I also want to thank my civic leaders. And I should have done that at the very beginning, but I want to take the time to thank them now, because our civic leaders were there. And they learned our mission from how things started coming in at the very beginning of the ground, to how it got employed, to how we did deploy it, to how then we recovered it and we bring it all back home. And we learn about camaraderie. And we learn from each other. And we learn what it's like for our teammates to come together in joint coalition warfare, and how we could do things better. There was no failure. There was only learning going on. That's what it was all about. That's what this exercise. But I tell you, oftentimes I get asked, was the juice worth the squeeze? But don't take my word for it. Take theirs.
This is a complete change from any of our earlier exercises we did. It's a complete joint task force.
Hey, that sounds like a lot of fun. 3,000 people headed to McCord for 2 weeks to fly a bunch of C-17s and a bunch of tankers. But the reality is, you've got a bunch of weapons officers in our mission planning cell that are coming up with challenging, realistic plans. At the end of the day, we're training for a skill set that we need to be able to employ at any possible time.
We get to train with the C-17s a lot, doing a lot of AR, but you never really get to see what they're truly capable of until you get together in an exercise like this and see them in mass forces.
With an exercise, there's always shortcomings, right? But we're responding to this like it's real world. So it's best to exercise that and notice our shortcomings prior to going out and have to do this for real and not be able to do our job.
It's a well-oiled machine. Obviously, like, problems arise, but it is amazing, like, what you're able to pull off with that many moving parts and that many airplanes.
So I tell you, you learned something, but I will tell you, I learned something too. You can't teach this old dog new tricks, and that new trick I needed to put back and pull it out of my quiver of tricks and tactics and techniques, and I said, we need to go back to scenario-based training the way I was originally trained to do things. That means when you're going to point A to point B and point C, you need to hook up with your intel folks, and you need to have a threat. And you need to figure out as a team how you're going to defeat that threat, and you need to go and land on that airfield. Are you going to an assault zone or a drop zone, and you need to fight your way in and fight your way out? How are you going to do tactical departures, tactical arrivals? And it doesn't matter if it's an international airport. It doesn't matter if it's a local airport. You need to discuss those things. And by the way, when you're going to point A to point B and you got 8 hours of crossing over the pond, you need to be talking to each other in scenario-based and come up with your mind of how you're going to defeat a threat if you had to go in there. So you're prepared and you're ready to go. So our next trip, our next stop on our trip takes us out to the sands of the Pacific. And I want to take you out to Kadena. And I want to tell you about, as you look at the wide expanse of the ocean, I want to tell you about Wooden 2-1. With Major Brian Potter and Captain Rick Mundy and Staff Sergeant, who was a boomer at that time, Kyle V.W. Vanderwagen. And this mission was a mission they were going to take off, and they're going to take some F-18 fighters from the Marine Corps, and they're going to go to Kadena down to Guam. And as they set up for the mission, they took off, and they were on their climb out to about 30,000 feet or so, and everything was going pretty good after about the 4 air refuelings. And then on the 5th air refueling, VW saw that the F-18, as you got ready to pull underneath, all of a sudden he backed away. There was a jerk, and he backed away down. And there was a conversation on the radio that he could hear. And the partners were talking to, the F-18s were talking to each other. They said, hey, this man just lost an engine. And we don't have enough gas to get anywhere. We're out in the middle of the Pacific. And the last thing I know is that if you're out in the middle of the Pacific, you run out of gas, you're swimming. So by normal conversation in calm voice, Wooden 2-1 takes over. And so what they did is started pulling the throttle back as part of the normal procedure and helping that crippled fighter come back up. And they went from about 350 knots down to 200, and about 200 down to 190, and they dropped the flaps, trying to bring that fighter along, and he still couldn't get up there and hold it in position. So as part of the normal routine, our KC-135 team said, hey, we got this. We got it. What we're going to do, we're going to do a toboggan maneuver. We're going to go down from 30,000 feet, and we're going to go all the way down to 10,000 feet. And we're going to make sure you have enough gas on board to be able to make it to a suitable alternate, because we're looking for one right now for you. We are your airborne control, airborne command and control, and we are going to be the ones that help you get along where you need to be. We will not let you fail. And so down they started. And they started all the way down, and they're topping off the fighter every single time. Tap, tap, tap. Getting that gas, topping off, getting off. And they get to about 10,000 feet, and they look over and say, hey, there's a little island out there that we know is partially manned. It's got crash and fire rescue support. It's called Iwo Jima. And they looked at their fuel sources, and they said, absolutely, we can make it over there. So they drug them over there, and they let them off to make that recovery. Now, you think that was the end of the day? No, they got down to 5,000 feet, and they provide airborne command and control, and they coordinated everything to make sure crash, fire, and rescue was there. And they made sure that their aircraft that they were refueling got on the ground safely and had everything they needed to accomplish that mission. Then they pressed on and went to Guam. Part of a normal day's mission, day in and day out. So I want to tell you, I want to leave those sands, and I want to take you to the snow plains of Germany. And I want to tell you about a total force crew. Active duty, guard, and reserve together, and they were sitting alert on the AE mission, and they got the call that we all are waiting for, and he said, I need for you to take critically wounded from Germany and I need for you to take them home to the United States. And as we were prepared to go out the door and they were loading up things, here comes a NICU unit, a neonatal intensive care unit. And they go, what's the deal? So they call up Command and Control and they go, hey, what's up? And he said, you need to stop in Lakenheath and pick up a little baby who doesn't get the critical care that they need back in the United States. That baby's going to die. And they looked at their watches and they looked at the days and they looked at the times and they go, we can do this. They check the bad weather and they go, okay, we can do this. So they take off from Germany and they get to Lakenheath and they load up and they get out, and then they have to fight 8 hours of weather, airfields closing, recoordination, getting things done. And I will tell you, the moral end of this story is that they made it all the way across. And those critically wounded soldiers are living today. And oh, by the way, that little baby is doing just fine. I want to take a moment to introduce you to somebody. That's my mom and dad. My mom has got a PhD in nursing, been practicing medicine for about 60 years. My dad was a flight surgeon, then got out and practiced medicine for about 40 years. So between them, they got 100 years of experience. But this isn't about them. This is about the people in the background. Because they had the opportunity to go to the Aerospace Medical School and learn what AE was all about. And my mom was so impressed, she goes, wow, these people truly know what aerospace medicine is all about, and Dad was agreeing with them. And they said, son, I would trust your life with them because they are that good. Because they are that good. And of course, she looked at my dad and she goes, Toddy, and that's my dad's nickname. She goes, they are so good that when you pass away, I'm moving to Wright Pat, and I'm going to go work for them. Of course, Dad goes, no, but he's okay. He's all right. But truly impressive what our total force team brings. And I will tell you that you never know where your individual actions take place and the things that you do so every day. And I want to tell you a story about what happened to me. And I heard a similar story last night. I was on you have to excuse me for a minute because I was on an air medical evacuation mission. And I was in the back of the airplane. We brought some critically wounded soldiers on board. We happened to bring one of our fallen. And one of our fallen were coming on board, and he's on a respirator to keep him alive so we could get him the launch tool so he could meet up with his family so his family could tell him goodbye for one last time. And as we traveled along, we came out of Afghanistan, I was watching them watching the nurses, these nurses who were trained so well, and they were taking care of the patients. And I saw them go by the patients who were critically wounded, and I looked at him, and I said, he needs a blanket. He's cold. He said, sir, we got it. We're taking care of him. So we get the launch stool, and we get the critically wounded patients off, and they make it okay, and then I saw them take our fallen off. And there was a ceremony, and we were able to get them hooked up. Found out later, we were able to get them hooked up with the family so they could tell them goodbye one last time. And I saw that young nurse, she got back on the airplane, and she broke down in tears. And we've seen this time and time again. And I had an epiphany. That was service before self. She took care of our fallen. She took care of those wounded and did not take care of herself after the job was done. That's truly remarkable about what our forces do each and every day. You never know what remarks or what mark you will make on someone's life or the memories that you will share with them. But I will tell you this, that's the individual. Think about what you can do in individual actions as a team. So let me take you on the next journey. And this goes to the sands that we know all so well in Iraq. And I want to tell you a little bit about a team of the Contingency Response Force, our CRWs. Our CRWs are the folks who go in, they kick down the doors, and they open up an airfield, and they get it ready at the leading edge of the battle, and do it so along with our AMLOs, our Air Mobility Liaison Officers, and they get together, they coordinate with forces, and they get those forces open and receive supplies so we can take it to the enemy who are trying to do us harm. And I'll tell you, this CRW forces, they deployed for the first time. They've been in and out, but continuously since 2014. And they were so good, they got the call, and they've been on every major offensive since. They got the call, and they said, hey, we need you to open up Baghdad. So they came in and they opened up Baghdad, and they got the field open, and we started bringing in supplies, and we started building up as we came back into that nation. And about the time I was getting ready to redeploy them home, I was coordinating with the EC and the 18th Air Force. They said, oh, Commander said, wait a minute. These folks are so good, we like for them to go open up an airfield called Al-Assad and out of Kadum. And when you open up them, we want to liberate Fallujah for the third time. And off they go. No questions asked. Proud to serve. Service before self. Excellence in all they do. And then about time it came to roll them up and bring them home. Next thing I know, hey, we need them in Erbil, in Key West. And I go, what for? Because we're going to liberate Mosul. We are at these leading edge, and we're going to push this enemy out. And these folks are so successful, we're going to bring it on. We're going to allow them to bring in the supplies so we can bring on the rain, the iron rain. And so they go in and they open up that airfield, but their job's not done yet. So I didn't even ask the question this time. Next time they got a deployment, and they're going to, this is what I'm so proud of them. They went to Syria, and they went to an LZ that was cut out of limestone. And they opened it up. And this team of 52 airmen took in about 3,400 short tons of cargo and about 1,450 packs, kicking the butt of ISIS and opening up Raqqa to freedom. That's what these young men and women do. And I will tell you that they're only about one deep in their duty AFSC. It's our airmen like Senior Airman Jacqueline Hall, our Captain Andrew Snell, our Tech Sergeant Eric Bell, our Tech Sergeant Angelo Marino. And this entire team doesn't know it yet, but as that entire team and an entire wing, just not these folks, but everyone who did those efforts in 2014, there's going to be 7 of them that's going to get Bronze Star medals next week. And if you want to take a look, you take a look at this picture that's coming up, and that's the team. You know who's missing out of that picture? It's the defenders. Defenders are holding honor, and they're guarding that field so that picture can be taken so they can go out and get their job done again another day. Well, that's a total team effort. And so I tell you, you can be proud of these young men and women because when they're old and they're grandparents and they've got their grandchildren call up on their lap. And they say, Grandpa, Grandma, what did you do in the war? And they're going to be able to look at them and say, it's not what I did in the war, it's what I prevented happening to us in that war. That's what it's about. So you know what? This is not what you do. This is what we all do.
America has the world's greatest fighting force. Not only because their hands hold the most advanced weapons, but because they can reach the enemy no matter where they hide. We deliver our nation's elite fighters to the enemy's remote doorstep and continue to fuel those warriors until we win. We can airdrop equipment and bring people anywhere, anytime we please. We are ever present in all corners of the world. We bring the supplies needed to any airfields. We fly the hands that heal in and out of natural disaster areas. We build air bridges, link bombers to targets, eliminate distance between continents, Every combatant commander depends on us every day of the year to support those facing the enemy. Whenever our aircraft take off bearing the American flag, our nation and allies around the world know they are never alone. Be it a battle against terrorists or Mother Nature herself, we stand ready always, strengthened by a total force of airmen to deliver an immediate and decisive response whenever and wherever needed. There isn't a crisis we can't respond to. We deliver hope. We carry strength. We fuel the fight. We save lives. We are the reach. We are Air Mobility Command.
You know, this stuff is not easy. I know it's hard. And what I do to ask you, what I have you to do every single day, you make it look easy. And it's tough. It's tough. And I'll tell you, it takes years of training and coordination to be ready for that next thing, to be ready for that 20-30 fight. And so I've got about one more tale I want to tell you. And this last story has to do with a young kid named Captain Everhart. Man, just take a look at that young man. Take a look at that hair. Boy, do I miss that hair. But I'll tell you what, it was me and Mike Hurst and the team and the Red Devils, and we were getting ready. We were doing our tactics, techniques, procedures because we're going to deploy out to Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And I will tell you at that time, because we were trained and we stood on the shoulders of giants who laid the foundation of what we were getting ready to go do, that the pump was primed. And we went in and we took the fight to the enemy, and in 100 short days, we cleared that out. It was the most awesome aspect of war power that we'd ever seen. And that just started a long journey for 26 years that you have now been participating in. And I will tell you, when I came back, I had some tough decisions to make. And as I thought about it, I just wasn't ready to hang up those David Clarks yet. But I'll tell you, the choices that we make, and we all make these choices, it has to do with our families. And it has to do with the sacrifices that our families make so we can go out and we can be prepared to do those missions. And sometimes it comes at a cost. And I will tell you that the decisions I made then are decisions made now because I've been there and I've walked those miles in your shoes. And I understand the things that you're going through. And I will tell you that I've talked to my staff, and my staff hears you and I hear you. And so we're getting after this thing and we're trying to make things better. So as we go, I want to make sure that your voices are heard. And as we move along, I want to sit down and I want to have a short conversation with you. A little bit of fireside chat. You know, as I look at the broad aspect of things and I realize what I'm doing and where I'm going, I say I need to listen to our folks. I need to understand and walk a mile in their shoes. Because what you do matters. What you do every single day matters. And I want you to understand, I want you to have a feeling that you're being heard. And that your voices are being heard. And that the staff is taking that into accountability. And I don't want you to have to walk away from the Air Force because you had to choose between your job and your family. I don't want you to have to walk away at all, but I want you to be able to have those choices in your hip pocket so you make healthy decisions. I need you on my team. So as I went out and I started looking at, the things that we have going on, there's several shortages that were coming about, and it's just not about pilot shortages. I look at our cyber force, and I look at our maintainers, and I look at air medical evacuation, and I look at the entire team, and there's some choices that they have to make. It just so happens that pilot retention is just sitting here in front of us right now. So that's what has been chosen to go after first. So as I set up a task force in AMC, my AMC team is getting after this thing, I asked for your responses. And out of those responses, I got 700 responses back. Some of them were really, really good. Some of them I kept in the lockbox. Because I tell you right now, I am not going to civilianize squadron, wing, and group leadership so you can fly all the time. That's not in our culture. That's not in our DNA. That's not the way we go to war. And I will tell you, out of those suggestions, though, there were things that we learned. And I put all those in categories, and I sent them up to the air staff so the air staff knew what we were thinking about. So we're all on the same sheet of music in the entire Air Force. And some of the things I learned is that family planning has now changed because they're basing family planning, you're basing to have children based off of a career where it is on your family. Michelle and I, we were doing a squadron commander's course, and we heard a story of a young lady who has actually received her lawyer bar, passed her bar in the state of New York. And guess where they are PCSing to? California. Career on hold. Was that the right thing to do? You know how tough it is in that state to get barred in? Was there someone there listening? Maybe, maybe not. There is now. Because now I've put more civilian positions inside the math panel, inside of AFPC, my way of saying it. So now when you pick up the phone, you don't get this waiting beep, beep sound, and 45 minutes to 2 hours later, if that so happens, somebody's on the phone to pick it up and say, how may I help you? It's a business model. It's what HRs do. It's about taking care of our people. And I will tell you, we've got amounts of talent out there that you would not believe. And we're recruiting that talent in. You know, you represent the top 1% of the entire nation. And out of that top 1%, we recruit in the Air Force 25%. And the talent pool that's out there, you would not believe. Take, for instance, our cyber warriors, as I was just talking about. I read of a story of a guy named John Cable. And John Cable decided to enter into this cyber competition where he was going to go against 650 of the world's top hackers. And he defeated every one of them, and this was the bug bounty that was program that was put together by the Pentagon. He defeated all those hackers, and he's only 17 years old. That's the talent we need to have on our team. That's where we're going. That's what it's all about. I'm telling you, we are listening, and we hear you. But I'll also submit to you that, and this is not an excuse, but Air Mobility Command is a big aircraft. And sometimes it takes just a little bit of change, a little bit of time to make that big change to get that rudder to take effect. So I do ask you to be patient with me. But I do ask you to stay on our team. I need you. We need you. Our nation needs you on our team. We just can't get anybody else. Your experience is forged in combat. You are the ones who solves the problems when they're faced with your innovative tactics, techniques, and procedures. And I will tell you, I heard a quote the other day from a marathoner from Ethiopia, and he goes, hey, we had a goal. I was going to break the 2-hour marathon. And I missed it by 26 seconds. 26 seconds. And he goes, you know what? 100% of me is nothing compared to 100% of the entire team. Think about that, folks. 100% of me is nothing compared to 100% of this team. So I want to get real with you just for a second. If you're thinking about getting out, commanders better have your ears open. Go talk to your commanders. Go talk to your squadron commanders. Go talk to your group commanders. Let them know what's on your mind so we can base your needs off the needs of the Air Force. Because I will tell you, you play a pivotal role in each and everything that you do, and our country needs you to be able to do so. So a lot of times I get asked, why do you serve? Why do I serve? I serve because of this picture that's coming up. That's my grandson. That's my grandson. I serve because of him. I serve because he's the foundation of my life, and I know that what I do now and what you're doing in the future, he can ride on your shoulders, the shoulders of air mobility giants. So if he comes in this Air Force, he has the foundation set for him to succeed. And I also do it for this young lady in the front. Because of the support she provides me, and also because it's an honor to serve. That's why I serve. Why do you? We started talking about our heritage. We started talking about how you joined the long blue line and you swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign, domestic. And I will tell you right now, you have taken that oath and you stand between the enemy and our American citizens who try to do us harm, but they have not done us harm. And you know why? Because you stand at the ready. You are the ones who make it happen every single day. You're the ones who make Air Mobility Command what it is, day in and day out, 24/7, 365. And I will tell you right now, I salute you. And I thank you for a job exceptionally well done. I thank you for what you do each and every day. Stay with me. We are a team, and we are together. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless the United States Air Force. Well done.